Bahrain. Bahrain is a small Arab country situated in a bay on the southwestern coast of the Persian Gulf. It is an archipelago consisting of Bahrain Island and some 30 smaller islands. Its name is from the Arabic term al-Bahrain, meaning two seas. For the level of democracy in Bahrain, its total score and status is not free. Its political rights is 12 out of 100 according to Freedom House. Bahrain's Sunni-led monarchy dominates states, institutions, and elections for the lower house of the parliament are neither competitive nor exclusive. Since violently crushing a popular pro-democracy protest movement in 2011, the authorities have systematically eliminated a broad range of political rights and civil liberties. Bahrain has a blended economy, with government control of numerous fundamental enterprises, including the significant oil and aluminum businesses. Bahrain's economy is firmly connected to the change in worldwide raw petroleum costs as the remainder of the area. Notwithstanding, its effect is much smaller contrasted with other Gulf nations because of the moderately assorted nature of the Bahraini economy. Thusly, the economy developed somewhat by 1.8% in 2019 regardless of a sizable constriction of the oil business. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's plunged to 4.9% in 2020. However, GDP development was relied upon to return to plus 2.3% in 2021 and plus 2.8% in 2022, subject to the post-pandemic worldwide monetary recuperation. Somewhere in the range of 1981 and 1993, Bahrain government consumptions expanded by 64%. During that equivalent time, government incomes kept on being to a great extent subject to the oil business and expanded by just 4%. Bahrain has gotten critical budgetary help and undertaking awards from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Privatization could help Bahrain's economy. Be that as it may, as of spring 2001, the public authority of Bahrain still completely possessed the Bahrain Petroleum Company. Utilities, banks, monetary administrations, and broadcast communications have begun. However, to go under the control of the private area, the public authority has utilized its assuming oil incomes to assemble a high-level foundation in transportation and broadcast communications. Bahrain is a territorial, monetary, and business focus. The provincial travel industry likewise is a huge kind of revenue. Petrol and flammable gas, the lone critical characteristic assets in Bahrain, rule the economy and give about 60% of spending incomes. Bahrain was the main Arabian Gulf state to find oil. As a result of restricted stores, Bahrain has attempted to enhance its economy over the previous decade. Bahrain has balanced out its oil creation at around 40,000 barrels each day, and stores are relied upon to last 10 to 15 years. Hosni Mubarak from power in Egypt, thousands of Bahraini protesters gathered in Manama to call for the political and economic reforms, including a new constitution, the creation of a more representative parliament, and the release of political prisoners. Following the protesters' deaths, King Hamad gave a televised address expressing regret over the deaths of the protesters and promising to continue the current trends of reform. Following the declaration, Bahraini security forces once again cracked down, using rubber bullets, tear gas, and live ammunition to clear protesters from their main encampment in Pearl Square and from other areas in downtown Manama. The parliamentary elections are held in Bahrain every 4 years, but in 2014, international observers were banned and they won't be allowed this year. Either the former British colony is ruled by a Sunni monarchy over a majority Shia. This imbalance has caused tensions in the past in 2011. They protested demanding greater rights, but any opposition was quickly crushed by the government, which was backed by tanks from neighboring Saudi Arabia. Bahrain Assembly consists of an upper house appointed directly by King Hamad bin Isla al-Khalifa called the Shura Council, and an elected Council of Representatives, the main lawmaking body, each with 40 seats.
But they mean an empowerment for the dictatorship. to give like a background of this parliament and following their performance within the last year and this year, it's the body which has authorized military courts to try civilians.
Almost 366,000 citizens have been declared eligible to vote, but not everyone is eligible to run for the election. Sheikh Ali Salman is one of the most well-known opposition figures, but he's been sentenced to life in prison, and his political party, the largest Shia party, has been banned. Bahrain is a long-standing ally of the United States and hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet, but lawmakers in the U.S., United Kingdom, and Europe have declared that these elections lack legitimacy. While locals prepared to go to the polls, the elections already created divisions between the ruling royal family and the Shia population and the lack of transparency. Bahrain is either moving towards democracy or going nowhere, depending on to whom one listens. Pro-government quarters depict the Bahraini situation as an advanced model for democracy in the region. According to some in the political opposition, on the other hand, Bahrain is nothing but an absolute dictatorship with democratic window dressing aimed at fooling friendly Western governments and winning praises from the Bush administration. Between the two conflicting views, many Bahrainis are still reserving judgment on the new political phase that started in the early 2001. Bahrain was once viewed as a promising model for political reform and democratic transition, but it has become one of the Middle East's most repressive Bahrain states. has a long civic history of struggling for democracy. It witnessed one of the largest scale uprisings in 2011, as a part of the so-called Arab Spring. Bahrain is an absolute monarchy. It's been ruled by the Al Khalifa family for the last 250 years. So when the new king arrived, he promised a new parliament. But unfortunately, it was a toothless parliament. It had no power over the decision-making in the country. This is the reason why people rose up in 2011. They just wanted an actual representative parliament. However, life is getting better in Bahrain. Better democracy is on the rise. Already, Bahrain has what's considered the most democratic system of government of all the states in the Gulf. Women have been able to vote in national elections since 2002. Overall, the position of women is the most advanced in the region, with legal protections in cases of divorce and child custody. Women also have better job opportunities in Bahrain than in most of its neighbors. Bahrain has one of the best education systems in the Gulf. Overall, Bahrain spends 5% of its gross domestic product on government-funded healthcare. Bahrain has become one of the most diversified economies of the Gulf, with banking and financial services the largest sector of the economy, accounting for 30% of the GDP. The move to make the government more accountable to the people is the latest example of Bahrain's commitment to reform and continued prosperity. The Pearl of the Gulf has got a rich past, a vibrant present, and a bright future.